Yeah.
What's good? It's your boy JayThat'sMe. We're going to get into TNA Rebellion from April the 27th, 2025. A very solid, fun pay-per-view. Really good stuff. TNA was able to sell out the venue. This is their consecutive 11th straight sellout, which has been great. This is excellent. I love it. I'm extremely proud and happy for TNA. They have earned this. They've turned themselves around, and I wish them nothing but the best. The WWE / TNA partnership has been great, and this is why they have been so successful, and they continue to have record sellouts, and I like it. It makes sense because TNA has a very lackluster roster. It's been basically cleaned out ever since, Scott D'Amore got fired. A lot of talent have exited and went elsewhere, either to WWE or AEW. And then since Joe Kim got let go a little over a month ago now, and so people have started to leave or, asking for their releases and stuff. So there's that. But this is a really decent show, and I'm proud of TNA. I'm glad they sold the venue out. So we're going to get into the pre-show first, and then from there we're going to get into the main card. So, Fatal Influence, they defeated the team of Rosemary and Lei Ling Ling, a.k.a. Xia Li, and Xia Brookside. I was thinking that Rosemary, Xia Brookside, and Xia Li were going to win, but they didn't because NXT's been teasing that Fatal Influence have issue with each other. But the same thing can be said with Rosemary and Xia Li. Rosemary and Xia Brookside. It happened here, so, but it makes sense for Fatal Influence to get the win here. Makes sense. Moving on. So Elijah, he ended up winning his open challenge. It was answered by Shane Haste of the Mighty Don't Kneel. TDMK. So good stuff there. Makes sense. I'm going to make a bold prediction. I think that by the end of the year or early next year, I think WWE or AEW is going to swing in and purchase New Japan. I got a feeling that that's going to end up happening. Just a bold prediction I have. It could happen, though. All right, moving on. Let's get into the main main card. First match of the night. It was the the Ultimate X match for the TNA X Division Championship. Moose, Vikingo, Matt Cardona, Casey Navarra, Leon Slater, and Sidney Hakim, a.k.a. Reggie, a.k.a. Scripps. Moose ends up retaining. Match was just spots, basically, just high spots. The MVP of this whole thing was Leon Slater. It sucks that TNA did not give Leon Slater the X Division Championship, but it seems like he's going to start a feud with Moose, which is interesting. But he was the MVP in the match. He ended up doing the Swanton Bomb 450 off of the whatever you call it, off the balcony or whatever. He ended up doing it there, taking out everybody. Got a massive reaction from the crowd. And then he ended up getting back into his feet. He was about to grab down the X Division Championship. Moose caught him. He hit a powerbomb into a spear, and then he ended up grabbing the title, and that's how he retained. So it's fine. It makes sense, but hopefully, like I said before, they end up having a feud with Moose and Leon Slater, because Leon Slater's great. So, good stuff. Good stuff, though. Moving on. So this leads us into the Fatal 4-Way Knockouts Tag Team Championships. For the Knockouts Tag Team Championships. The Elegance brand had their match by Elegance. The Metaphor, Last Legend, and Jakara Jackson. Spitfire, Jody Threat, and Danny Luna. Chemical X, Gigi Dolan, Tatum Paxley. The champions, the Elegance brands, they retained with the help of Maggie Lee. So the match was fine. For some reason, I thought that they were going to end up switching the titles because really and truthfully, TNA has no division for their knockouts. They have no knockouts tag division. So I don't understand why the fuck didn't they just switch the titles. You could have put them on Chemical X. You could have put them on the Metaphor Girls. It would have been fine either way. But they chose not to do it. It is what it is. I don't know what the Elegance brand does going forward. I mean, they are character wrestlers. I mean, well, Dana Brooke is. Well, my bad. Ash by Elegance is. And Heather Reckless is an indie chick. So, it's fine. I mean, she's now, getting introduced into character wrestling. So, I don't know what you do with the Elegance brand going forward. I mean, who do you feud with? Like, what do you do? Like, this would have been prime time, a perfect time to switch out the titles, but they chose not to do it. And I have no idea why, but whatever. So, we'll have to wait and see how things play out. Moving on. So, this leads us into a backstage vignette with Elijah. He didn't say much of anything. Moving on. So, this leads us into the 6-man tag, which was the Rascals, Jeremy Gunn and Zachary Wentz, and Ace Austin. They defeated the System, Eddie Edwards, Moose, and Brian Myers with the help of Sean Waltman. Match was okay. So towards the end of the match, Alicia Edwards got involved. She slapped Sean Waltman. X-Pac gave her the X Factor. Then the Babyfaces, they did the Bronco Buster to all 3 members of the System. And then Zachary Wentz got the win via the cutter for the 1, 2, 3. So I assume that it's going to be Zachary Wentz and Moose down the line. So that should be fine there. So that's pretty okay. All right. Fun stuff there, though. Moving on. This leads us into a backstage segment involving Gia Miller. She's trying to talk to Steve Maclin, but he won't say anything. And then he just bounces out. All right, this leads us into Steve Maclin defeating Eric Young. He retains the TNA International Championship. Who really cares about any of this? Because I'm not a fan of Eric Young. He needs to go away. He needs to kindly fuck off and just go away. Like, Eric Young, Moose, Brian Myers, Eddie Edwards, all those guys need to be in NWA. Same thing with Alicia, You can also add AJ Francis to that list as well. Just send those guys to NWA, please. Like, for real. That's where they all need to be at. So Maclin ends up winning via a roll-up. He ends up countering Eric Young's pile driver. Who cares? And then post-match, Maclin ends up getting his ass kicked by Eric Young. He ended up bringing in a steel chain, and he ended up hanging Steve Maclin, and then he just passed out. So, there's that. So apparently this feud's not going to be done with at all. So this is going to continue their feud, I guess. Who cares? All right, moving on. This leads us into the match of the night. Mike Santana defeats Mustafa Ali in a Falls Count Anywhere match. This match was solid as fuck. Ali busted out a 450 splash through the table. Mike Santana, he ended up handcuffing the Great Hands to the ring post. There are a bunch of table spots in this match. Towards the end of the match, Tasha Steelz tried to get involved. She slapped Mike Santana. The crowd popped massive on that one. Then Mike Santana, with his crazy ass, ended up doing a Rager's Edge through the table. That was fucking awesome. The crowd popped on that big time. Mustafa Ali, he jumped off of the balcony. That was great. Great spot there. He ended up, doing that. And then basically, my bad. Basically, Mustafa Ali ended up bringing in the barbed wire bat. He ended up hitting Mike Santana in the head. Mike Santana was bleeding pretty bad, but not real bad. But it was, noticeable for sure. Then Ali tried to hit him again, and Santana ducked. He ended up hitting the spin the block lariat for the 1, 2, 3. Mike Santana wins, and this was fucking great. This was really good shit. Mustafa Ali is great. He's been doing good stuff since he's left WWE, and I'm glad that he's in this position. I'm glad he's in TNA. Great stuff. Mike Santana needs to move up on the ladder. I would argue to say that Mike Santana is probably the second biggest babyface in the promotion. So I do think that in due time, Mike Santana will end up either being X Division champion or possibly maybe winning the TNA International Championship from, I would presume, down the line, Eric Young. So there's that. But the match was solid. Crowd was into it. Really good shit. Definitely go back and rewatch this match. It's worth it. Mike Santana is a solid worker. Same thing can be said about Mustafa Ali. Moving on. So we go ringside with Gia Miller. She introduces Indi Hartwell. So she's now the new signing for TNA, which is great. Perfect. It makes perfect sense. She's young. I think she's like 28. Great. I'm glad that they are trying to rebuild their Knockouts division and they're going younger with it. This is great. Really good stuff. Good stuff. This is basically where she needs to be at. So Indi Hartwell should do fairly well in TNA. Good stuff. Moving on. Masha Slamovich defeats Tessa Blanchard. She retained her She retained her TNA Knockouts World Championship. Match was very solid. So the start of this match was Masha ended up doing the snowplow. Tessa kicked out at 2, which was great. So there's that. Tessa ended up taking control of most of the match, getting a bunch of offense. She ended up hitting her buzzsaw DDT, and her version of Magnum, and they were kicked out of by Masha. And then Masha ended up getting the win via like a version of Disarm Her that Becky Lynch used to do, that Becky Lynch does, which is great. So good stuff there. The crowd was sort of kind of into this. For whatever reason, they ended up chanting, "Let's go Cena, Cena sucks." For whatever reason, I have no idea why that was. But, I mean, it is what it is. This match was solid. I thoroughly enjoyed the match. It was really good. Tessa Blanchard is great. Now, there were a small bit of chants from people that chanted, she's racist. She's a racist. So they're still doing that. It's not as prevalent as it was at Bound for Glory, and it wasn't as prevalent for Hard to Kill. Like, Hard to Kill, they ate her alive with that. That was great. That was when Jordan Grace was still with TNA. So there's that. This is great. I'm glad that the feud is continuing. I do expect Tessa Blanchard to become the new Knockouts champion, probably at Slammiversary. So that makes the most sense. Moving on, this leads us into the Nemeth brothers, Ryan and Nick Nemeth. They defeat the Hardyz. They are the new TNA Tag Team Champions. Match was solid. Jeff Hardy can still sort of kind of go. Nick Nemeth has not lost a step at all. He still wrestles like it's 2015 all over again. Like, he's tremendous. Nick Nemeth is tremendous. I love Nick Nemeth. He's not lost a step at all. So, towards the end of the match, Jeff Hardy was going to go for the Swanton. Nick got out the way. And he ended up low-blowing Jeff, that being Nick, and then he hit the danger zone. He tagged in Ryan, and Ryan pinned Jeff Hardy 1, 2, 3, and the crowd wanted to burn the venue down to the fucking ground, and rightfully so. I was in that same boat, but I get why it happened, so it makes perfect sense. This is great. The Hardys have basically beaten everybody, every heel team from the system and other makeshift teams. So this makes perfect sense. The right decision. Maybe this continues their feud. Maybe the Hardys will get the titles back at maybe like a Slammiversary or something like that. So we'll have to wait and see how that goes. So good stuff there. Then this leads us into Santana Marella and the Busted Open crew. They're there. And they're talking about, who they think is going to win, so they give their predictions. Not that important. Main event in the evening, Joe Hendry versus Frankie Kazarian versus Ethan Page, triple threat for the TNA World Heavyweight Championship. Joe Hendry retains. The match was okay. Nothing more, nothing less. Joe Hendry ended up doing an attitude adjustment through a table to take out Frankie Kazarian. Ethan Page ended up hitting him with the belt. He ended up eating a cutter. Joe Hendry kicked out. Then Joe Hendry ended up hitting the follow-away slam, and followed by the standing ovation for the 1, 2, 3. Joe Hendry retained. Post-match, out of nowhere, Trick Williams showed up. He ended up hitting not one but two trick shots and taking out Joe Hendry. The crowd ended up chanting, "Whoop that trick." And they booed him a little bit as well. So Trick ended up celebrating with the title for a brief second. He posed with it, and then he ended up putting it back on the waist of Joe Hendry. This is great. I'm loving this. So Trick Williams is now a full-blown heel. He ended up giving Joe Hendry a receipt from NXT last Tuesday, which was fucking great. So I'm very interested in this. The reason why this is happening is twofold. One is that TNA does not have any credible heels to feud with Joe Hendry anymore. He's already beaten Moose. He's beaten AJ Francis. So it's not much they can do in the heel department anymore in TNA. And Trick coming over makes sense because he gets more experience. He gets to hone his craft a little bit more. And I like this. This is great. This is tremendous. This is great. Could we see Trick and Joe at Worlds Collide in late May? That could very well happen. So that's interesting there because TNA, they're going to want to get in on the AAA partnership for sure. So, that makes the most sense. But this was a very good pay-per-view. I'm proud of TNA. TNA is in a really good headspace right now. They're fucking great. I know a lot of people don't like them, but to me, they're a little bit better than AEW. Sure, AEW has money behind them, but that doesn't necessarily matter. If Anthem were to put more money in the promotion, and I think Anthem will. I think when they begin to clean out what they need to clean out from TNA, like the talent and stuff like that, and continue to get rid of more backstage guys from the Scott D'Amore, Gail Kim regime, if they can get rid of more of them and bring in more guys that know what they're doing, you could have, TNA be a serious product. And TNA, it's better now than it was 2 or 3 years ago. Like, for real. 3 years ago, they never would have had 8,000 people show up to a TNA show. That would never have been unheard of. That would have been unheard of and unreal. That wouldn't even have fucking happened. Even when Matt Hardy was still there back in 2016, 2017, I think the most they did, and this is for Bound for Glory, they did like 5,000, and that was pretty decent back then. And that was just 8 years ago. So, there's that. But the show in itself was solid. I had fun with most of the show. Go back and watch the X Division match. That was tremendous. Only thing I didn't like was the finish. Other than that, the match is worth watching. Definitely go back and watch Tessa Blanchard and Masha Slamovich. Also, go back and watch Mike Santana and Mustafa Ali. If you want a different taste, definitely also go back and watch the main event, to see Trick Williams. So that was good. So I'm loving what TNA is doing. I'm invested with the storylines and stuff that they got going on. The NXT TNA partnership continue to kick ass, and I like it. But what did you guys think of Rebellion? Like, comment, subscribe. Peace.